The orange sun of Kepler 186 cast long shadows across the dusty plains as Dr. Zurek adjusted her protective suit. The Andromeda-born archaeologist had seen many dig sites in her career, but this one felt different. Her tentacles twitched with excitement as she surveyed the expansive desert before her. "Any updates, Glix?" She called out to her Martian assistant, who was hunched over a complex scanner. Glix's antennae bobbed as he responded, "Nothing yet, Doctor. But the energy readings are off the charts. Whatever's buried here, it's big." For weeks, their team had been excavating this remote corner of the galaxy. Whispers of an ancient civilization had brought them here, but so far they had found nothing but dust and rocks. As the day wore on, spirits began to flag. Even Dr. Zurek found herself questioning their mission. That's when it happened. A loud beep from Glix's scanner broke the silence. "Doctor, I got something." The team rushed to his position, their various alien appendages kicking up clouds of red dust. As they gathered around, Glix's holographic display flickered to life, revealing a massive underground structure. "By the stars," Dr. Zurek whispered, her eyes wide. "It's a hangar." With renewed energy, the team set to work. Laser drills hummed, and anti-gravity lifts whirred as they cleared away millennia of sediment. As the sun began to set, casting an eerie purple glow across the landscape, they'd made their breakthrough. A massive metal door, easily the size of a small moon, slowly came into view. Its surface was pitted and scarred, telling tales of cosmic battles long forgotten. But what caught everyone's attention was the strange symbol etched into its center, two parallel lines intersected by a perpendicular third. "What is it?" asked Thorne, a young Venusian researcher, his leafy skin rustling with curiosity. Dr. Zurek shook her head. "I've never seen anything like it in all my years of study." As night fell, they set up powerful lights to continue their work. The door, despite its age, seemed to respond to their efforts. With a groan that shook the planet, it began to open. The team held their breath as a gust of stale air rushed out. When the dust settled, they found themselves staring into a cavernous space that seemed to stretch for miles. And there, lined up in perfect formation, was a fleet of starships. "Impossible," muttered Glix, his scanner going haywire. "These ships, they're millions of years old." As word of their discovery spread, ships from across the galaxy began to arrive. Scientists, politicians, and thrilled seekers all wanted a glimpse of this ancient wonder. Among them was High Commander Vex of the Zygon Empire, his scaly skin glistening under the artificial lights. He scoffed as he examined one of the ships. "Look at this primitive design. No wonder this civilization died out." His entourage laughed, their mockery echoing through the hangar. Dr. Zurek felt a spark of anger. "With all due respect, Commander, we don't know anything about who built these yet. They could be relics," Vex interrupted. "Nothing more. My battlecruiser could destroy this entire fleet without breaking a sweat." As if in response to his boast, a low hum began to fill the air. Lights, dormant for eons, began to flicker to life across the ships. Panic erupted among the gathered crowd. In the chaos, Dr. Zurek noticed something on the nearest ship's hull. As she wiped away layers of dust, her heart skipped a beat. There, in clear, unmistakable letters, was a word she had only seen in ancient texts: Earth. The laughter had stopped. The ancient fleet was awakening, and the galaxy was about to learn the true legacy of humanity. The word Earth glowed faintly on the ship's hull, casting an eerie blue light across Dr. Zurek's shocked face. Around her, chaos erupted as the ancient fleet hummed to life. "Everyone, stay calm," she shouted, her tentacles waving for attention. But her words were drowned out by the panicked cries of the gathered crowd. High Commander Vex's earlier bravado had vanished. His scaly skin had turned a pale green as he barked orders into his communication device. "I want my battlecruiser ready for immediate departure." As aliens of all species rushed towards the exit, A small team of researchers huddled around Dr. Zurek. Glix, his antennae twitching nervously, asked, "Doctor, what do we do?" Before she could answer, a deep rumble shook the hangar. The floor beneath their feet began to shift, revealing hidden pathways and ramps. It was as if the entire structure was rearranging itself. "Fascinating," whispered Thorn, the young Venusian. "It's like the place is waking up." Dr. Zurek nodded, her scientific curiosity overriding her fear. "We need to find the control center. If we can access the main computer, we might be able to understand what's happening." As they made their way deeper into the complex, they noticed strange symbols appearing on the walls. They pulsed with a soft light, seeming to guide their way. "These markings," Glix muttered, scanning them with his device. "They're not just decorative. They're interactive." To demonstrate, he hesitantly reached out and touched one of the glowing symbols. Instantly, a holographic display sprang to life, showing a 3D map of the entire facility. "Incredible," Dr. Zurek breathed. "The technology here, it's far beyond anything we've ever seen." As they studied the map, they noticed a large chamber at the heart of the complex. "That must be a control center," Thorn pointed out. Following the map, they made their way through winding corridors. The further they went, the more the facility came alive around them. Lights flickered on, and strange machines began to whir and click. Finally, they reached a massive door marked with the same symbol they had seen outside. Two parallel lines intersected by a third. As they approached, the door slid open silently. The control center was a sight to behold. A giant holographic display dominated the center of the room, showing star systems and galaxies they had never seen before. Consoles lined the walls, their screens flickering with data in an unknown language. "Look at this," Glix called out, pointing to a particular console. "These readings, if I'm interpreting them correctly, this fleet isn't just millions of years old, it's billions of years old." The implications of this discovery were staggering. This technology predated most known civilizations in the galaxy. As they explored the room, Dr. Zurek noticed a strange device on a pedestal. It looked like a helmet, but unlike anything she had ever seen. Curiosity got the better of her, and she reached out to touch it. The moment her tentacle made contact, the helmet sprang to life. It levitated off the pedestal and hovered in front of her. "Doctor, be careful," Thorn warned. But Dr. Zurek was transfixed. Slowly, she put on the helmet. For a moment, nothing happened. Then her eyes went wide. "Oh my," she gasped. "I can see everything. The history of this fleet, its purpose, its creators." Her team watched in awe as Dr. Zurek began to speak, her voice taking on a strange, distant quality. "Long ago, when the galaxy was young, there was a race of beings. They called themselves humans. They came from a planet called Earth." As she spoke, the holographic display in the center of the room came to life, showing images of a beautiful blue planet. They were not the strongest or the fastest or even the smartest beings in the universe, but they had something special, an indomitable spirit, a relentless curiosity. The display showed scenes of human history, their first steps on their moon, their exploration of their solar system, and finally, their journey to the stars. "They built this fleet," Dr. Zurek continued, "not for war, but for exploration, to seek out new life, new civilizations, to go where no one had gone before." As the gravity of this revelation sank in, alarms began to blare throughout the facility. The holographic display shifted, showing a massive fleet of ships approaching the planet. Glix checked his scanner, his antennae drooping in fear. "It's the Zygon Empire. They've called for reinforcements. They're here to destroy the fleet." Dr. Zurek removed the helmet, her eyes filled with determination. "We can't let that happen. This fleet, this legacy of humanity, it's too important." As the sounds of approaching ships grew louder, the team looked at each other, realizing they were now the custodians of humanity's greatest achievement. The ancient fleet was awake, and its next chapter was about to unfold. As the alarms blared throughout the ancient facility, Dr. Zirok and her team stood frozen in the control room. The holographic display showed the approaching Zygon fleet, their weapons primed and ready. "We need to do something," Thorn cried, his leafy skin trembling with fear. Dr. Zirok's tentacles twitched as she thought rapidly. "The helmet," she said suddenly. "It showed me the history of this place. Maybe it can show us how to operate it too." Without hesitation, she put the helmet back on. This time, instead of passive observation, she focused her thoughts on a single question: how do we activate the fleet's defenses? Instantly, her mind was flooded with information. She saw schematics, battle plans, and complex algorithms. But more than that, she saw flashes of the humans who had once walked these halls. "It's incredible," she whispered. "I can see them, the humans. They were so different from us, yet so similar." As Dr. Zirok delved deeper into the human memories, Glix worked frantically at one of the consoles. "I think I've managed to tap into the fleet's communication system," he said. "We might be able to broadcast a message to the approaching ships." Thorn looked skeptical. "And say what? Please don't destroy us." But Dr. Zirok wasn't listening. Her eyes, visible through the helmet's visor, were darting back and forth as if reading an invisible script. "The humans," she said softly. "They knew this day might come. They left a message for whoever found this place." Her tentacles moved swiftly over the console, guided by the knowledge from the helmet. Suddenly, the entire facility hummed with energy. The holographic display in the center of the room expanded, filling the air with a swirling galaxy of stars. A voice, deep and resonant, began to speak. It was unlike anything they had ever heard before. "Greetings, explorers of the cosmos. If you are hearing this message, then you have awakened the legacy of humanity." The hologram shifted, showing images of Earth, its blue oceans, green forests, and bustling cities. We were humans, born on a planet called Earth, in a small corner of the galaxy you now traverse. Our history was one of triumph and tragedy, of great achievements and terrible mistakes. The images change, showing the human journey from primitive tribes to a spacefaring civilization. We reached for the stars, driven by an insatiable curiosity and a desire to understand our place in the universe. But as we expanded, we realized a terrible truth. The cosmos is a dangerous place, filled with wonders and horrors beyond imagination. The hologram now showed massive space battles, planets being destroyed, and entire star systems vanishing. We fought, we explored, we made allies and enemies. But in the end, we realized that our greatest strength was not in our weapons or our technology, but in our diversity and our ability to adapt. Dr. Zirok and her team watched in awe as the history of humanity unfolded before them. They saw great leaders, brilliant scientists, and ordinary people doing extraordinary things. "This fleet," the voice continued, "is not just a collection of ships. It is the culmination of human ingenuity and spirit. We built it not for war, but as a safeguard for all sentient life in the galaxy." The hologram zoomed out, showing the fleet in all its glory. Each ship was a marvel of engineering, far beyond anything the current galactic civilizations had achieved. "To those who have found our legacy, we entrust you with this power. Use it wisely. Learn from our mistakes. And above all, remember that the greatest adventures lie not in conquest, but in understanding." As the message ended, the facility fell silent. Dr. Zirok removed the helmet, her eyes wide with wonder and responsibility. "Don't you see?" she said to her stunned teammates. "This isn't just some ancient relic. It's a gift and a challenge. The humans are gone, but they left this for us, for all of us." Glix's antennae twitched nervously. "But the Zygon fleet is still coming. What do we do?" Dr. Zirok's gaze hardened with determination. "We do what the humans would have done. We stand our ground. We try to communicate. And if necessary, we fight. As if responding to her words, the ancient ships began to power up, their engines glowing with an otherworldly light. The legacy of humanity was awakening, and the galaxy would never be the same. The ancient human fleet hung silently in space, a testament to a long-lost civilization. Dr. Zurek and her team watched from the control room as the massive ships moved into defensive positions, guided by programming older than most stars in the galaxy. The Zygon fleet will be here in minutes, Glix announced, his antennae twitching nervously as he monitored the scanners. Dr. Zurek's tentacles curled in determination. We need to try and communicate with them. Maybe if we explain the situation, they'll stand down. Thorn looked skeptical. The Zygons aren't known for their diplomacy, Doctor. They see this fleet as a threat to their power. As if to emphasize his point, the first wave of Zygon battlecruisers emerged from hyperspace. Their sleek, predatory shapes contrasted sharply with the ancient, monolithic human vessels. Incoming transmission, Glix called out. The holographic display flickered, and the scaly visage of High Commander Vex appeared. His eyes narrowed as he recognized Dr. Zurek. So the esteemed archaeologist has become a thief, he hissed. Hand over control of the fleet immediately, or we will destroy you and this relic of a long-dead race. Dr. Zurek stood tall, her many eyes meeting Vex's gaze without flinching. Commander, you don't understand. This fleet isn't a weapon, it's a legacy. The humans left it to protect all life in the galaxy, including yours. Vex's laugh was cold and bitter. Protect. With a fleet of warships, don't insult my intelligence, Doctor. You have one standard hour to surrender, or we attack. The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving the control room in tense silence. What do we do now? Thorn asked, his leafy skin pale with fear. Dr. Zurek's gaze swept over her team, then to the vast array of controls surrounding them. We prepare, she said firmly. Glix, see if you can decipher more of the fleet's defensive capabilities. Thorn, I need you to broadcast a message to every nearby system. Tell them what's happening here. As her team sprang into action, Dr. Zurek donned the neural interface helmet once more. This time, instead of passively receiving information, she actively searched for answers. Show me how to protect this fleet, she thought intently. Show me what the humans would do. Instantly, her mind was flooded with images and sensations. She saw great battles fought across the stars, but also moments of peace and discovery. She felt the courage of human explorers venturing into the unknown, and the compassion of those who sought to protect the weak. Most importantly, she began to understand the true nature of the fleet's defenses. It's not just about firepower, she gasped, removing the helmet. The humans built this fleet with technology we can barely comprehend. It can adapt, evolve, and even communicate. Glix looked up from his console, confusion evident in his compound eyes. Communicate? With who? With the Zygons, Dr. Zurek replied, a plan forming in her mind. And every other ship in the sector. The humans designed it to overcome language barriers, to find common ground. She moved to the central control panel, her tentacles dancing over the ancient symbols with newfound understanding. We're going to show the Zygons the truth. Not just tell them, but make them experience it. As the hour of ultimatum ticked away, the human fleet came fully to life. Energy fields shimmered around each massive ship, not just deflector shields, but something far more complex. When the Zygon attack finally came, it was ferocious. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes streaked across space, impacting the human ships in a dazzling display of firepower. But instead of destruction, something miraculous happened. Each point of impact on the human ships became a window into history. The Zygon crews watched in awe as their weapons were absorbed and transformed into holographic displays, showing the story of humanity, their triumphs and failures, their hopes and fears. In the control room, Dr. Zurek and her team worked frantically to maintain the defense. It's working, Thorn exclaimed, watching as more and more Zygon ships ceased fire. Suddenly, the comm system crackled to life. High Commander Vex's voice came through, but this time it was filled with wonder rather than anger. "Dr. Zurek," he said slowly, "we had no idea. This is beyond anything we've ever encountered. We request a ceasefire. There is much we need to discuss." As the tension of imminent destruction faded, Dr. Zurek allowed herself a moment of relief. The human fleet had done what its creators had intended. It had fostered understanding in the face of fear and aggression. But she knew this was just the beginning. The galaxy was about to change, and the legacy of humanity would be at the heart of that change. The real challenge was just beginning. The ceasefire held, but tension still crackled through the air like static electricity. Dr. Zurek stood at the center of the control room, her tentacles dancing over holographic displays as she tried to make sense of the vast amount of data streaming from the human fleet. "It's incredible," she murmured, her multiple eyes wide with wonder. "The more we learn, the more we realize how little we know." Glix nodded, his antennae twitching as he pored over sensor readings. "These ships, they're not just weapons or exploration vessels. They're libraries, laboratories, and something else I can't even begin to understand." Thorne, who had been quiet for some time, suddenly spoke up. "Doctor, look at this." He pointed to a strange pattern repeating in the data stream. "It's like the fleet is trying to tell us something." Dr. Zurek moved closer, her scientific curiosity piqued. As she studied the pattern, a chill ran down her spine. "It's a countdown," she realized. But to what? Before anyone could speculate, the comm system crackled to life. High Commander Vex's face appeared on the main screen, his scales a paler shade of green than usual. "Dr. Zurek," he said, his voice uncharacteristically subdued. "Our long-range sensors have detected something troubling. A massive energy signature is approaching the galaxy. It's unlike anything we've ever seen." The control room fell silent as the implications sank in. It was Thorne who finally voiced what they were all thinking. Is this what the human fleet was built for? To protect the galaxy from some kind of external threat? Dr. Zurek's mind raced. She reached for the neural interface helmet, knowing it was their best chance at understanding what was happening. As she put it on, she was immediately overwhelmed by a flood of information. Images flashed through her mind. Vast, incomprehensible beings moving between galaxies, worlds withering and dying as some unseen force passed by. And the humans, those remarkable creatures, working tirelessly to create a defense for a galaxy they knew they might not live to see. When she removed the helmet, her tentacles were trembling. "The humans," she said, her voice filled with awe. "They saw this coming. Millions of years ago, they detected a threat to all life in the galaxy. This fleet, it's not just a collection of ships. It's a key to unlocking the galaxy's own defenses." Glix looked confused. "The galaxy's defenses? What do you mean?" Dr. Zurek moved to the central console, her movements urgent. "The humans discovered that our galaxy, like all galaxies, has its own immune system, a way to protect itself from external threats. But it needed to be activated, and the process would take eons." She began inputting commands, guided by the knowledge imparted by the helmet. "The human fleet is a trigger, a key to unlock the galaxy's latent defenses. But it needs help. It needs the combined energy and technology of all spacefaring races to fully activate." High Commander Vex, who had been listening intently, spoke up. "You're asking us to trust the fate of our civilization to the plans of a long-dead race." Dr. Zurek met his gaze steadily. "I'm asking you to trust in the best of ourselves. The humans believed in the potential of all sentient life to come together in the face of extinction. They built this fleet not to dominate, but to unite." As if in response to her words, the massive human ships began to move. They formed a complex geometric pattern, energy arcing between them in dazzling displays of light. "We don't have much time," Dr. Zurek announced, her voice filled with determination. Commander Vex, we need to broadcast to every civilization in range. We need their ships, their energy, their cooperation. Vex hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Very well, Doctor. Let's hope this human faith in unity wasn't misplaced. As the call went out across the stars, Dr. Zurek turned to her team. The countdown was accelerating, and the unknown threat drew ever closer. They had unlocked the secrets of the human fleet, but the greatest challenge still lay ahead. Whatever happens, she said, her voice steady despite her fear, we face it together, just as the humans intended. The control room hummed with activity as they raced against time, the fate of the galaxy hanging in the balance. The legacy of humanity was about to face its ultimate test. The vast expanse of space around Kepler 186f was no longer empty. Ships of all shapes and sizes, representing dozens of galactic civilizations, had answered the call. They formed a massive, diverse armada around the ancient human fleet. Dr. Zurek stood at the command center, her tentacles working tirelessly over the controls. The neural interface helmet sat nearby, ready to provide crucial information at a moment's notice. Energy signatures from the incoming threat are off the charts, Glix reported, his antennae twitching nervously. Whatever it is, it's big enough to consume entire star systems. Thorn, monitoring communications, added, we're receiving transmissions from the gathered fleets. They're scared, Doctor. Some are talking about fleeing. Dr. Zurek took a deep breath, steadying herself. Open a channel to all ships, she said firmly. As Thorn complied, she addressed the assembled armada. To all beings who have answered our call, I thank you. What we face today is beyond any single race or civilization, but that is precisely why we must stand together. She paused, letting her words sink in. Long ago, a race called humans foresaw this threat. They built this fleet not as a weapon, but as a key to unlock the galaxy's own defenses. But it needs our help. It needs our unity. As she spoke, the ancient human ships began to move. They formed intricate patterns in space, energy arcing between them in brilliant flashes of light. Look at the human fleet, Dr. Zurek continued. Each ship is different, yet they work in perfect harmony. We must do the same. Our diversity is our strength. Together, we can activate the galaxy's protection and save not just ourselves, but countless future generations. Her words seemed to have an effect. The Allied ships began to move into formation, guided by instructions transmitted from the human fleet. Suddenly, alarms blared across the command center. It's here, Glix shouted. A massive dark shape emerged from the depths of space. It defied description. Part black hole, part living entity. Tendrils of dark energy reached out, grasping at nearby stars and draining them of life. By the cosmic egg, High Commander Vex whispered, his usual bravado gone. How do we fight something like that? Dr. Zurek's mind raced. She donned the neural interface helmet once more, searching for answers. In an instant, she understood. We don't fight it, she said, removing the helmet. We contain it. The human fleet isn't a weapon. It's a net, a trap. But it needs power, massive amounts of power. She turned to the communications array. All ships, divert all non-essential power to the human fleet. We need every ounce of energy you can spare. Across the Armada, ships began to dim as they channeled their power into the ancient vessels. The human fleet glowed brighter and brighter, pulsing with gathered energy. The dark entity seemed to sense the danger. It lashed out with tendrils of void stuff, ripping through the first line of defense. Ships exploded silently in the vacuum of space. Hold the line, Dr. Zurek called out. We need more time. High Commander Vex's voice came over the comm. Zygon Fleet, attack pattern Omega. Buy the doctor the time she needs. The sleek Zygon ships darted forward, their advanced weapons blazing against the cosmic horror. Other races joined in, each using their unique technologies in a desperate bid to slow the entity's advance. In the command center, warnings flashed across every screen. The containment field is at 60% power, Glix reported. We need more. Dr. Zirek's tentacles flew over the controls. Reroute power from life support if you have to, she ordered. Everything depends on this moment. As the battle raged outside, the human fleet began to move. The ships formed a massive three-dimensional web, encircling the dark entity. Energy crackled between them, forming a shimmering barrier. Containment field at 80%, 85%. Glix called out, his voice tense. The entity thrashed wildly, sensing its impending doom. With a final, desperate lunge, it struck at the heart of the human fleet. No. Dr. Zirek cried out, watching as one of the ancient ships exploded. But even as it died, the human vessel released a pulse of energy that filled the gaps in the containment field. The web of energy snapped shut, trapping the cosmic horror within. Containment field at 100%. Glix announced, his voice filled with disbelief. We did it. A cheer went up across the Allied fleet. Ships flashed their lights in celebration, a dazzling display against the backdrop of space. Dr. Zirek slumped in relief, her tentacles trembling. They had won, but at a great cost. As she looked out at the battered but victorious Armada, she knew that the galaxy would never be the same again. The legacy of humanity had saved them all, and opened the door to a new era of cooperation and discovery. The days following the great battle were a blur of activity. Ships from across the galaxy converged on Kepler 186f, no longer in fear, but in celebration and curiosity. The human fleet, battle-scared but triumphant, hung in orbit like silent sentinels. Dr. Zirek stood in the control room, her tentacles moving gracefully over the holographic displays. She had barely slept since the battle, too engrossed in unraveling the mysteries the human fleet had left behind. Doctor, Glix called out, his antennae twitching with excitement. I think I've found something. Dr. Zirek moved to his console, her multiple eyes widening as she saw the data. It's a star map, she breathed, but not of our galaxy. Thorn joined them, his leafy skin rustling. Are you saying the humans visited other galaxies? Before Dr. Zirek could answer, the neural interface helmet on the nearby pedestal began to glow. Without hesitation, she put it on. Instantly, her mind was flooded with images and sensations. She saw vast fleets of human ships, not just exploring their own galaxy, but venturing into the cosmic void beyond. She felt their triumphs, their failures, their unquenchable thirst for knowledge. When she removed the helmet, her tentacles were trembling. It's more than that, she said softly. The humans, they seeded life throughout the universe. The control room fell silent as the implications sank in. It was High Commander Vex, who had been quietly observing, who broke the silence. Are you saying that all of us, are descendants of humanity? Dr. Zirek shook her head. Not descendants, exactly. But they nurtured the conditions for life to evolve on countless worlds. They were gardeners of the cosmos. As if triggered by her words, the main holographic display came to life. A message began to play, the same deep voice they had heard before, but now filled with warmth and hope. To those who have awakened our fleet and faced the great threat, we offer our congratulations and our thanks. You have proven that our faith in the potential of life was not misplaced. The hologram shifted, showing scenes of early human history, their struggles and triumphs. We, humanity, reached for the stars not out of conquest, but out of a deep-seated need to understand and to nurture. We discovered that life, in all its beautiful diversity, was rare and precious, and so we took it upon ourselves to become its guardians. Images flashed by of humans terraforming planets, seeding oceans with primordial soup, gently guiding the course of evolution on countless worlds. But we also knew that we could not, should not, control the destiny of the life we helped create. And so we stepped back, leaving only this fleet as our legacy and safeguard. The hologram showed the construction of the Great Fleet, a project spanning generations. You who are listening to this message are the inheritors of our legacy. The fleet is now yours, to use as you see fit, but it is more than just ships and technology. It is a philosophy, a way of looking at the universe, not as a resource to be exploited, but as a garden to be tended. The message concluded with an image of Earth, beautiful and blue. We may be gone, but in each of you, a piece of humanity lives on. Go forth, explore, discover, and above all, nurture the precious gift of life wherever you find it. As the message faded, the control room erupted in excited chatter. Species that had been at war for generations now spoke of cooperation and joint exploration. The human fleet had not just saved the galaxy, it had given it a new purpose. Dr. Zirek looked out at the assembled ships, her heart filled with wonder. The journey ahead would be long and fraught with challenges, but for the first time, the galaxy was truly united. Well, she said, turning to her team with all four eyes gleaming. Shall we begin? Glix and Thorn nodded enthusiastically. Even High Commander Vex managed a scaly smile. As they set to work, preparing for the greatest adventure in galactic history, Dr. Zirek couldn't help but feel grateful to the long-gone humans. They had laughed at the ancient fleet until they realized humans built it. Now, that fleet had given them a future filled with limitless possibilities. The legacy of humanity lived on, and the stars themselves seemed to shine a little brighter.